You know, last year I sat on the Ways and Means Broadband Committee, and it was the first committee in the House to take Senate Bill 461 up, the so-called Racial Justice Act. And really from the moment I saw it, I saw it as a fatally flawed bill that was as likely to create as many injustices as it was supposed to correct. The Racial Justice Act, for those of you who are not familiar with it, was a bill, maybe well-intentioned, that said there may be some people on death row where you could create a clear and convincing case for the fact that their death penalty was brought forward with some racial motivation, that didn't make sense in the context of the crime committed and people in the general prison population, historic data. But they took this bill to an extreme. This bill not only allows a man in Mecklenburg County who's been convicted on 9 counts of murder and 13 counts of rape to assert that the only reason he's on death row is because of his race. To file an appeal, just like anyone else, who maybe have a more compelling case. We thought that was bad, and we thought that that was primarily what we were voting on. But now we've found out over the past week or a couple of months that we're using this absurd construct to let people on a pretrial basis delay justice and to just put a burden on the court system and on the members' family members by asserting before a trial has ever begun that they're only bringing this case because of their race. Now, a lot of you would automatically jump to the assumption that that this may be about a black person. One of the arguments used frequently in the debate was an African American who kills a white person has a disproportionately higher chance of having a death capital case brought against them. That may be true, and if it is proven to be true, statistically that may be a valid application for the Racial Justice Act. But let me ask you a question. We have a man who on a Saturday morning a while back murdered a white man and a white woman at their home. He was a white man. He's actually filed an appeal, pretrial motion on the basis of the Racial Justice Act. I want to get that right. A white man who killed 2 white people is now using the Racial Justice Act as a basis for having the capital case reduced or not brought against them. We have another case in Gaston County, which we've confirmed with the district attorney. We have another case in Halifax County, and now we find out with the clock ticking through August for people on death row to file for their appeals that there are some 60 cases that are likely brought. Worse than that, it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse. We'll pass this out. This came from Administrative Office of the Courts. There have been 18 of these pretrial motions to try and delay the trial before it's even been brought. And I guess another 5 that specifically cite the Racial Justice Act, and another 5 that at least indirectly cite the Racial Justice Act. This is becoming a part of defense lawyers' tools out of the gate before a trial ever begins. And I'll pass this around so you see the data if y'all.
And that's just through December.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, that's just through December. We don't have the data on what's occurred since December. So, you know, we said from the beginning when this bill was passed that it was a bad bill. We thought that there were a lot of flaws in it. We thought that there was a lot of risk of abuse. We were told that that's unrealistic. It's just the last best chance for somebody on death row. That's how it was sold. It's anything but that in terms of how it's being used. Now, to give you an idea of what we're talking about, this is an example of the motion. This is the sort of paperwork and this is the sort of requests that are being made for all those pretrial motions that people have to produce data on to actually justify the death penalty or bringing a capital case. Folks need to understand that DAs go through a 3-ring binder that's about 2 inches thick of things that they have to consider before they would ever consider taking a capital case. And now we're adding this layer on top of it. A lot of cost. DAs have estimated millions of dollars that are going to be redirected away from one part of the court system to another part to actually fund this bill. I don't think I have enough copies for everybody, but for those in the press, here are some other things. I want to tell you a little bit about the process, and then I want to turn it over